Holla ballers! What's going on? It's Preacher and it's happening! It's happening! We're finding out the class changes. We're going to have a whole series all week revealing the previews of all the class changes that they're going to do. Now, I'm going to have to put a caveat here, and I'm going to have to do it before every video, so I truly apologise to those of you who watch every single one of my videos, but you're going to hear this little line a lot, but I'm sure you understand why I have to do it. The class changes that Blizzard have announced in this preview are the baseline foundation of the specs and classes, okay? What they do not include is the artifact weapons and how they alter things, or the new extended talent system, which we have yet to see as of recording of this video. So if you feel like there's not enough abilities on display, don't worry, those things are coming later. So the depth and all that kind of stuff is not here. This is just the base foundation before you start to specialize your spec. So without further ado, let's get into the Hunter. I'll use my big boy voice here because each spec has come with its own new blurb, and it's designed to make you interested in it. So here we go. Beast Mastery. Amongst the most gifted hunters, there are those who have from birth felt a profound bond with the creatures of the wild. These Beastmasters are drawn to the perilous primal world, invigorated by its dangerous and untamed nature. Primitive landscape becomes home. Ferocious predator becomes kin. Whether in the thrill of the hunt or the heat of battle, Beastmasters call forth a litany of vicious animals to overwhelm prey and gnaw at their enemies' will. Ooh! Ooh! Spooky. Yeah, pretty good. So it's all about, this is like, this is the big ranged pet. So if you were a hunter who wanted to be at range and have a pet, this is the only spec you've got. Marksman no longer has a pet, and of course Survival has a pet, but you're going to be in melee, so we'll get to those shortly after the BM. So notable changes are things like Cobra Shot is now instant cast and cost focus. So previously, Cobra Shot was of course our focus generator. Now that is an instant cast, it costs 30 focus, and a quick shot that causes medium damage. Essentially a filler. It's going to cost you focus. Alright? Kill Command still exists. It's going to cost you 20 focus, 25-yard range from your pet. That's some big teeth on that pet. And a 6-second cooldown. So this is going to be our big hitter that you want to keep on cooldown all time. We're going to get Wild Call, which is a passive, which means your critical strikes have a 30% chance to reset the cooldown of Dire Beast. And this is where the thematic side of Beastmaster comes in the form of Dire Beast, which is also now our pure focus regeneration ability. Has a 40-yard range, it's instant, it has a 10-second cooldown, as normal, but of course because of Wild Call we can reset that, and it summons a wild beast to attack your target for 8 seconds. Then when it attacks and deals damage, it will gain 4 focus, and summoning a beast reduces the remaining cooldown of Bestial Wrath, which remains, by 15 seconds. So we can already see where the scaling from this comes from. The more critical strike chance you have, the more chance you'll summon Dire Beast, which will reduce the cooldown of Bestial Wrath even more. How that will scale long term, I don't know. We got a relatively boring mastery, it just increases your damage done by pets. Yay. And when we got a reveal of one of the talents, one of the many, many talents, they said there are hundreds of new talents, so please bear in mind that this is just one of many, many, and you get Way of the Cobra, a passive ability, and for every pet or guardian you have active, Cobra Shot deals an additional 5% damage. Now, some people are probably going to think that's something they need to track. I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so at all. You'll probably get a gut feeling from it for the amount of times you cast Dire Beast. So, okay, so if you start getting a lot of resets, ooh, Cobra Shot's pretty good. But Cobra Shot is our filler anyway. Is it going to overtake Kill Command at some point? That's a good question. Alright, so we have our basic methodology down of how you will do DPS as a BM Hunter. You will use Kill Command on cooldown, right? Dire Beast on cooldown, and every time it resets, that will be your top priority to get more focus. And you will fill with Cobra Shot always, as long as you can definitely do the next Kill Command. Okay, make absolute sense. Kill Command will be your primary, and if you have excess focus and Kill Command can be used as long as you don't mess it up, you will use Cobra Shot in the middle. So it's a very simple foundation style of play. Now, with this Way of the Cobra, entirely possible that skilled players will be looking at how many pets they currently have out and whether or not that has overtaken, based on the focus, 30 focus for Cobra Shot, 20 for Kill Command, as to whether Cobra Shot is more worthwhile than Kill Command, okay? So that's the only sort of initial depth I can see on the Beastmaster. Not much change. What we can see is there are no casted abilities. So mobility, mobility, mobility so far. But probably talents that will sort of counter into that. But in terms of flavour, yeah, it's there. It's a solid foundation. There's going to be lots of pets. Lots and lots of pets. You have a couple of BM hunters in your raid. Rip melee. We're going to have demon hunters and survival hunters in there maybe, and all these other pets and shit. My god, rip melee in Legion. I just dread to see what that's going to look like sometimes, but yeah, a lot of fun either way. So let's move on to survival. So let's big boy voice again. While all hunters feel a calling to the wild, some serve as a reflection of its brutality. To them, the hunt is defined by unrelenting ferocity, where survival means facing one's enemy eye to eye, and is always accompanied by a merciless bloodshed. Weapons of great range are abandoned for instruments of close quarters combat. Survival hunters are instinctive and crafty on the prowl, employing loyal beasts and laying deceptive traps to see their enemies undone. For these hunters, know that to truly understand what it means to survive, one must first become familiar with the cruel face of death. Dark. Dark, to say the least. Pretty fucking dark. However, this is the big one. This is the big changer, and I'm a little salty about it, if I'm being honest with you. So I'll explain it to you, and then we'll get into my little critique of what we've seen so far. So this is the Hunter spec that's going to change to being melee. Not something any hunter knew about when they obviously picked their class, and some are a little bit pissed off about the fact that there is a melee spec in the game for the hunter, and there is potential, certainly if you're in the PvE world or even in the PvP world, that it will in fact be the best spec and you are forced to play melee, although you initially, when you rolled your character, wanted to be arranged. So let's look at the abilities. So we get Harpoon, which is changed from what we thought it was going to be, potentially. It's a 5 to 40 yard range, 15-second cooldown. Hurl a harpoon at your target and pull yourself towards them, rooting them in place for 3 seconds. Now, we were told this was a death grip. That's a charge. In my book, that's a fucking charge, not a death grip. Pulling yourself towards them is not a death grip. So, curious as to why that's changed and whether they'll address it. Or perhaps we can do some minor glyph, which means it's the proper Scorpion get over here that we thought it was going to be. They've then decided to be very nostalgic, and you'll see recognize a lot of names here if you played a hunter in the past. So, Raptor Strike costs 20 focus. A Vicious Slash dealing moderate physical damage. Our standard filler, relatively cheap at 20 focus, nothing to be excited about there. We then get Laceration. 35 focus, causes a bleed over 12 seconds. So this was a little bit sad as well. One, super boring, right? We got a bleed to keep on. It's also a 10-second cooldown and lasts 12 seconds. Why? We only probably want that. I mean, it doesn't mention any initial damage, so why does it have a cooldown at all? We just want to keep the bleed on. It also seems to indicate that we can't bleed multiple targets. Okay. Sure. It also indicates to me that they're definitely not going to use poisons. Why? Why would you miss out? I mean, a hunter should be using the poisons and toxins of animals you would expect in some fashion, given WoW's theme. But no, we're just going to get a Rend, which we'll just have to keep up. Mongoose Bite makes its return again, or at least the name does. Melee range, instant 10-second recharge and has 3 charges. A brutal attack attempting to sever the enemy's limbs. Get over yourself. Dealing strong physical damage. Each consecutive Mongoose Bite dealt within 3.5 seconds of the last will deal 50% increased damage, stacking up to 6 times, okay? So this is something we're going to be weaving in, and it is your focus regen ability, although it doesn't say that. The idea is that you will literally go into downtime, where, similar to a Destruction Warlock, where if you cast a Chaos Bolt, your mana regenerates very, very quickly while you're doing that. So in this way, we will be spamming Mongoose Bite, obviously trying to keep these charges up, and in that time, you will regenerate focus. So let's go to our other hitting ability, which is Flanking Strike. 20 focus, 25 yard range from Pet. Okay, it's instant, 6-second cooldown. Give the command to kill, causing your pet to instantly inflict strong damage to its target. Kill command. Give the command to kill. It's not kill command, guys. What does it do? Gives the pet the command to kill. All right, mate. Yeah, okay. Sure. So this will be something we obviously want to keep on cooldown. It's going to cost 20 focus, 6-second cooldown. Simple as that. Nothing more to know there. Wing Clip also makes a return. It's just a hamstring, essentially. And our Mastery, your pet's attacks have a 20% chance with Mastery from gear. Chance to grant you an additional charge of Mongoose Bite. Additionally, to provide a glimpse of how some talents might work, here's our example talent. You can get Snake Hunter, a 1-minute cooldown that grants you 3 charges of Mongoose Bite. So the gameplay really saddens me. I almost feel like they were afraid to go balls to the wall with this, and were afraid of how it might be reacted, which I think is a missed opportunity. They could have gone completely fresh with this. What we've seen here is rehashed Kill Command, rehashed Rend, and then just a filler, which we want to keep a debuff up that lasts 3.5 seconds. So to say it will be fast and furious is an understatement. You will be spamming the shit out of this and limited by charges. Okay? You're going to be limited by charges. So it stacks up to 6 times. So we'll obviously want to try and maintain that 6 stack as much as possible. Your mastery will help do that. They could have gone so much further with this and had so much more fun. In fact, most of this combat doesn't seem to involve a spear at all. This is all... I mean, I based my... If you look at my ideas of what they might do, we were way off. Way off, because I stupidly based most of the ideas on the fact that it would be a spear. Every single thing I read here basically sounds like an axe, right? We're trying to sever limbs. That's like an axe or a sword, not really a spear, which is a stabbing motion. So it feels like they really held back on what they were going to do with this, and instead went for nostalgia. It's like, hey, people will be okay, because it's like Mongoose Bite and Raptor Strike. Okay. And then just came up with some really weak source abilities, really. Just a bleed and a big attack. And then you spam Mongoose Bite within charges. There will be some management there. You can obviously see the depth because you have 3 charges and you want to keep that debuff of Mongoose Bite up, and it only lasts 3.5 seconds. So you'll be trying to just maintain that to get the 6 stack and keep the 6 stack going, and then keeping the bleed up and using Flanking Strike whenever possible. That's generally your gameplay is going to be Mongoose Bite spam while keeping Rend up and using Kill Command. Essentially. So I'm pretty salty about this. Pretty salty. They had an opportunity to go, let's do something really fucking cool. This is a brand new idea. We're going to go really overboard with it and have some fun with it and be creative with it. And none of this is creative. The names are rehashed from a long time ago, which some hunters will be like, yeah, I remember this. Yeah, you do remember that. But 10 minutes after you played it, it doesn't fucking matter. And all the abilities are pretty boring. Pretty boring, gotta be said. I mean, even Snake Hunter just gives you more Mongoose Bite, right, charges, right? So, sure. I mean, of all the things I've read so far, including the Priest one, which I'll be covering after this video, this is the most disappointing, by a long way. Let's move on to Marksman, then. Apologies for my cough, I'm still very, very ill. But honestly, the answer is probably more simple. One, I was overhyped with my own ideas of where they thought they might go with it. And the likelihood is they didn't want to create a whole shitload of animations for one particular spec that might not get played that much. So can you invest that time and money into it? I would have hoped yes, to give it some hype and flavour. But it seems they'll just fall on the polearm animations, which hunters have had traditionally. But because they're Rets and warriors, they're all slashing and hacking attacks, which, for me, it just doesn't sit that well. So marksmanship, let's do the big one voice then. Marksman 2. Shroud themselves in the perils of the untamed wilds, perfecting the use of weapons that are deadliest from great range. They've maintained little interest, however, in gaining the loyalty of the many beasts inhabiting these crude landscapes. Instead, the marksman blends into the surrounding environment, surveying behaviour of all manner of predator and gleaning deadly methods for stalking their own prey. A sniper in hiding, the marksman unleashes arrows and bullets with deadly precision, exposing the weakness in whoever or whatever passes through their crosshairs. Okay, so the typical hunter. Note, arrows and bullets, which means the artifacts can be a gun, I suppose. Okay, so you can I mean, they've included this here, unless it's a typo or whatever, you can certainly have an artifact gun, as they are definitely basing the classes around their artifacts. So how that will work in terms of the lore of the crafted bow that was passed down from generation to generation, I don't know. I don't want to say. But they then go on to tell you that Lone Wolf has been overwhelmingly popular. Lots of hunters got rid of their pet. Unsurprising, really. So Marksman just doesn't get a pet. And they've also mixed in some of the survival spells, okay? So they mentioned it later on that Explosive Shot Eva's even made into it, just under the guise of Lock and Load. And so is Black Arrow. So if you I missed my Black Arrow, I suppose. A lot of hunters are like, I remember Black Arrow, what an amazing spell. I totally missed that. So yeah, Black Arrow and Lock and Load will be coming into there, and Lock and Load kind of attaches the Explosive Shot style. So let's go through the abilities then. You get Arcane Shot, 40-yard range, instant, a quick shot that causes moderate damage and generates focus. So this is your focus regen now, is Arcane Shot, Whenever you don't have anything to press, you'll be spamming that arcane shot as quickly as possible, creating a very fast gameplay as well. A lot of fast gameplay all the way through Hunter Specs so far. You then get a passive ability called Seek Vulnerabilities. Targets hit by your arcane shot and multi-shot, for the AoE, have a chance to be marked with the Hunter's Mark for 6 seconds. Marked shots, okay? 30 focus, 40 yard range. Channeled ability. So here's the casted ability, okay? Rapidly fires a shot at up to 3 targets affected by Hunter's Mark, dealing strong physical damage. Usable while moving, so mobility's still there, guys. It also exposes a vulnerability in the target, snaring them for 15 seconds and increasing aimed shot damage done to the target by 25% for 10 seconds. And stacks up to 3 times. So let me finish this before we go into the actual rotation style stuff. So then we got aim shot still exists, costs 50 focus, way expensive. 40 yard range, a 1.5 second cast. Okay, does not say it can be cast while moving, but we'll have to wait and see. A powerful aim shot that deals strong damage. We're aware of what aim shot does. And we get sniper training mastery, which is crit damage and range of all shots is increased by 12.5%. Additionally, to give you an idea of the talents, we get lock and load, a passive. Attach an explosive charge to aim shot. So aim shot becomes explosive shot, dealing strong additional fire damage to the target and all enemies. So it's a pure AoE within 4 yards. Your ranged auto attacks have a 5% chance to trigger lock and load, causing your next 2 aim shots to cost no focus and be instant. Okay, so there's that cast time disappearing that we talked about earlier. So that should make some sort of sense there. So what are we looking at here? Lots of tracking of information here. Lots of tracking. So arcane shot we can kind of dismiss. It's just our focus filler. What we're aiming to do, for the most part, assuming we ignore the talent, is to mark shot people. Okay, we're looking to get mark shot, which comes from your arcane shot. Okay, so while we're filling, we're looking for mark shot to trigger. And when mark shot triggers, we're then going to take effective of that with... Well, I should say, let me restart this. I apologize. So arcane shot will trigger Hunter's Mark. Okay, so we're going to be tracking where the Hunter's Mark appears. It appears for 6 seconds. When that happens, we're then going to want to use a mark shot, which shoots up to 3 targets. Okay, so as you can obviously get mark shot from multi-shot, which does a lot of damage and then debuffs the target for 10 seconds for aim shot. So there's going to be a bit of weaving here. A little bit of weaving. If you want to go for a mega aim shot, alright, now the maths will have to point to this with whether we want to do that, because we can stack this mark shot debuff 3 times. Now to stack that, it's going to cost 30 focus, alright, it's going to cost you 90 focus, I should say, to stack that up. That's pretty intense, and know that our talents and abilities will give us opportunity to make that better. So you're going to be looking to, like, arcane shot, mark shot for 30 focus, spam some arcane shots within those 6 seconds, right, within those 10 seconds, then get another Hunter's Mark to appear, mark shot it again, okay, that should give you 2 stacks of the aim shot debuff, and then arcane shot again, get your focus back, hopefully you should be about 80 focus at this point, mark shot again, which will give you the third aim shot debuff, and then use a 50 focus aim shot to do a shitload of damage. That's the kind of play style you're going to be going for. A little bit heavy on the micromanagement there for long-term gameplay on a boss. No doubt it'll be much simpler when we put it into our fingers, because 6 seconds and 10 seconds is a hell of a long time when you're actually in game, especially when there's no cooldown on arcane shot. You can be spamming, and the chances are that this Seek Vulnerabilities, which applies the Hunter's Mark, is actually going to proc relatively often. Right? Relatively often that's going to proc there. So it's very much a different style from the very, very super boring playstyle we got in Wilds of Draenor, where it's hard to tell the difference between steady shot and fucking aim shot. They just seem like the same goddamn spell half the time. They just stood there casting away at. So they've put a lot of micromanagement into Marksman. A lot of micromanagement. And I'm no doubt it's not as difficult as it appears. I don't think it appears difficult for me, but some of you might think, wow, that sounds like a lot of effort. That's okay. It's okay to have a little micromanagement. Certainly in comparison to BM, which seems way simpler, and Survival, which seems crazy simple on the back of it, because you can't really fuck up either of those two, because it's all sort of self-explanatory. Hit the die beast whenever you want to go. Overall, one thing we can say is they achieved what we hoped for with the Hunter, which is make each of the specs completely unique. Completely unique. They do. All 3 of these specs play very, very different. The only saltiness I really have, I like BM. I think BM sounds good. Lots of pets, all sorts of stuff going on with that. I think that's pretty cool. Could get pretty boring later on down the line, but I'm not going to judge that until we get full talent trees and exactly how much stuff we can add in on top of this. But survival just seems like they whiffed a little bit. They could have gone so much further and had so much more fun, but unfortunately, no. Okay, alright guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll be doing all the classes this week. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.